A few days later, Dorman was part of a task force that came ashore at Iowans.
The weather wasn't too bad when we landed, and just shortly thereafter, I don't remember what day it was, but it started turning cold. And we weren't dressed for the cold weather. We had basically summer clothes, I made sure that my fire team kept their combat boots, and I made sure that they kept their blankets. And I didn't know why, but I just assumed that we were going to need those blankets at some time or other.
As the United Nations command troops drove north, China entered the war. Chinese soldiers from the People's Volunteer Army began to harass UNC forces as they reached the Yalu River. Bill Harrison from Cincinnati, Iowa, had been working in Newton when he was drafted into the Army. Harrison went to Korea as a replacement in November of 1950 after training as an artilleryman. He joined the forces heading north to push out the enemy.
The first time, early on, when I realized that I had killed a person, and I threw up, it made me sick. It was that way all the time. And I always had to give the command to fire when they were ready. And it still bothers me. How many thousands? I don't know how many thousands.
By November, Lein and Dorman were among the more than 30,000 that stopped at the Chosin Reservoir, less than 60 miles from the border with China. Winter had arrived on a Siberian express, bringing with it sub-zero conditions. Temperatures dropped to more than 20 degrees below zero, with wind chills believed to have hit over 70 below. Frostbite became an enemy almost equal to the opposing force.
When we was up the reservoir for over a month, we didn't wash our face or hands or change clothes or anything. And if it had been the summertime, the odor had been pretty bad. In the wintertime, when it got so cold, we'd get two sleeping bags and tie them in together. Put one inside another one. And you slept with your clothes on. The only time you slept was when you were so damn tired you just passed out. You couldn't hardly sleep when it was cold. Then, like I say, we slept in piles, small piles.
Despite the fatigue and constant danger, there was still a need to keep equipment in good working order. While camped at the reservoir, there were times when Lein, now a battle-hardened veteran, felt there was a fine line between being a squared-away Marine and the pressures of the fight.
We had a second lieutenant come over. We was pretty well up on the reservoir by that time. And he was hollering at these guys because their dungarees were muddy and they had muddy boots. And they looked like zombies. And he was hollering for them to get it cleaned up. I walked up to him and I said, "You better shut your mouth." Because I said, there are just as many second lieutenants get killed over here as there are PFCs.
On November 25th, U.S. forces celebrated Thanksgiving in the frozen wasteland near the reservoir.
We had hot food. I got a canteen cup about half full of coffee. And my hole was probably 50 feet from the chow line. And I'm carrying this can of hot coffee. And before I got to my position, that coffee was froze solid.